Hello and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, Makina's route. Last time, Yuuji and Makina were training in the school's courtyard with an airsoft BB gun. However, their training was interrupted as Sakaki Yumiko walked in on the range. After a short exchange of unpleasantries, the training continued. Now, let's continue. Come on, Makina, if you're done with supper, hurry up and take your bath, alright? I'll be there in just a minute, so go ahead and get in. I got all sunburned. My face and shoulders hella hurt. That's what tends to happen when you play outside all day without bothering to put on sunblock. Come on, the sunblock just sweats right off even if I put it on, you know. Did you have fun? Yeah, it was wicked super uber fun. Wicked sick, huh? That sounds pretty damn fun. What sort of games were you playing? Oh, no, I almost fell for your cunning trap. Irisu Makina enlisted with Mihara Academy School Register number 4, born January 13th. Huh? What's this all of a sudden? Papa said not to tell the enemy interrogators anything but your name, ID number, and DOB. Interrogators? Look, I wasn't planning to torture it out of you, alright? Just go take your bath already. Yosh! Roger that! Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, that's no good. I nearly forgot Mr. Duck. Okay, the dog's alright, but don't start carrying other toys in there again. Got that? Yes! Honestly, it's cute to see the girl so energetic, but... Alright then, guess it's time to take a peek in Makina's diary. What? Where'd she put that journal? She was just scribbling in it a little while ago, so it can't have gotten that far, right? For crying out loud, she left dirty socks lying around here again. How many times do I have to tell her to put them in the damn hamper? And where's that freaking diary anyway? Oh, there we go. Nice, I knew it was down here somewhere. Okay, let's see here. Today's date. There we go. Okay, let's take a little look-see. Today I played Purin King with Papa. It was hurla fun. Hurla? Well, probably one step above hella for her, I guess, but more importantly, what the heck is this? Is this thing supposed to be the Purin King? Purin as in custard pudding? I am Lord and Master of Pudding Realm, His Royal Highness Pudding King. What? Seriously, what the heck is this? First Traiton, now a Pudding King? I mean, I don't know. I just don't know anymore. What on earth is that girl doing with Yuuji? Traiton and Puddingkin were the best of friends. They spent many carefree days playing together in a deep dark forest rumored to be haunted by goblins. One day, Tunafish Man abruptly appeared before them while vigorously disemboweling himself with a gleaming knife. He spoke thus. Toro! It seems Amane was tormented by this remarkably surreal dream, ultimately leaping to her feet and yelling, "What the hell now?" to no one in particular. A sad tale, although I fail to see why she complained to me the next morning. Elderly people are fond of the phrase, experience as much as you can while you're young, but it's apparently somewhat rare for youngsters to genuinely understand those words. I'm something of a special case. I've seen much more than most people my age. Hell, I think I'm the world-weary side of things, but even so, sometimes a small discovery or brief comment will completely overturn what I thought I knew. Experience is the most valuable form of knowledge, the survivor's greatest prize. Repeatedly experiencing something until you know it inside and out is worthwhile. So is seeking out new experiences and widening your horizons. And this time, Makina opted for the latter. I don't think it's anything more complicated than that. Hey Makina, are you sure you don't want to come? Yeah, I'm gonna stay with Papa this year. Just this morning, Makina declared that she would be spending her summer vacation in the dorm rather than accompanying Amane to Kyoto for the second time. Apparently this last moment change of plans was announced just as Amane was preparing breakfast today, and came as such as a shock that the girl dropped her kitchen knife to the floor dramatically. Not to beat a dead horse, but why? It's not like you're going to have much fun hanging around with this thing, you know. Can you not call me a thing to my face? At the very least, try not to point for emphasis. You managed to bruise my feelings a bit.
Well, being with Papa is the single biggest reason. But there's also my part-time job and watering the apple seedling and looking after my crawfish and stuff. I experienced Kyoto last year, so this time I'm gonna have my first summer with Papa.
Will this really be alright? What are you going to do about your meals and all that?
Not to worry, I got my bread baking machine. All you can eat baked goods at our fingertips.
Just bread isn't good enough, alright? You need nutritionally balanced meal. Ah, jeez. Maybe I should make some snacks with a long shelf life before I go. It'll be fine. I'm going to take care of the cooking. Right, but can you really make decent meals either? I've got this mental image of you eating nothing but beans. Not to worry, I'll get some pumpkins in there as well. A human being won't die as long as they got beans and pumpkins to eat.
Don't forget the baked goods. Ooh, maybe I'll try making some pumpkin bread. Nice, sounds delicious, alright?
I'm kind of worried. If Makina's not coming, maybe I'll just stay too.
Come on, it's gonna be fine. I can do what needs to be done, you know? Go take your trip. Bring me back some Yatsushi crackers with extra crack, green tea flavor, if you please.
You really do love your tough, crunchy food, don't you? I'm a traditionalist myself. Get me some of that default cinnamon flavored ones. Yeah, I'll buy you some souvenirs, but in return, you'd better finish your homework, Makina.
Yes!
Yuuji, make sure she does that homework, alright? Yes. Do you two really get the message? Even if I'm gone, you can't just play around all the time, okay?
Don't talk about being gone, Amane. You gotta come back, okay? If you don't come back to me, I'll track you down, no matter how far I go.
Stop talking like a stalker. I'll be back soon enough, okay? No need to drag out the farewells then. The Yokohama Shinkansen leaves at 8:50, right? You're going to miss the train unless you get a move on. Okay, then guess I'll be on my way. Very well. Makina, we will now send off Amane on her journey to the capital with 3 hearty cheers.
You betcha! Congratulations on your departure, Miss Amane. Banzai! Banzai! Banzai!
Hey, cut it out. That's really embarrassing, okay? And so Amane finally turns and runs up the stairs toward the station's ticket gate, fleeing a largely meaningless farewell salute. While I certainly appreciated the value of Amane's contribution to our well-being, I assumed her temporary absence wouldn't have any particular serious effects on our lives. To be honest, that casual attitude was partly the product of stubborn pride. I got along just fine by myself, didn't I? But once the woman was actually gone, it didn't take 30 minutes for the first problem to begin surfacing. Hey, Makina, how old are the eggs in this fridge?
What you asking me for? I ain't the one who laid them.
I'd hope not.
They ain't gonna go bad in 2 or 3 days, and the man is always putting new ones in the back, so the closer ones to the front should be fine.
I see.
More importantly, we're nearly out of toilet paper. Where's the spare rolls at?
Where was it again? I do remember buying her some, so we should have plenty in stock.
Amane is the type to hoard this sort of stuff. It'll probably be squirreled away somewhere, you know?
Like where? I don't see anywhere to hoard things in this room.
Maybe she stashed it under the stairs. You know, that little room across the hall? A.K.A. Amane warehouse.
Amane warehouse?
Amane's got a habit of buying up whatever they got on sale at the supermarket and toss it in her warehouse. Tissues, toilet paper, canned food, all that sort of stuff. There's gotta be 50 liters of bottled water in there by now, you know.
Sounds like a pretty decent little emergency stockpile.
Girl's fundamentally the parsimonious type. Give her a box of cookies and she'll save the ribbon and wrapping paper. Oh, speaking of penny pinching, that reminds me.
Makina promptly sticks her head into the fridge and starts rooting around in search for something.
Ah, there we go. Knew it was in here.
What's that supposed to be? The semi-transparent Tupperware container in Makina's hand is stuffed to the brim with a yellowish, powdery substance.
Remember when Amane made that pumpkin soup the other day? This is leftover skin and pulp from when she juiced that sucker.
Seriously, who bothers to save that stuff?
What do you think you're calling that stuff, bub? Pumpkin skin is the most nutritional part of the whole damn thing. How could you even think of throwing it away?
I see. My apologies, but what are you planning to use it for?
Naturally, I'm gonna knead it into some dough and make pumpkin bread. Let's have that for lunch, okay? Also, I'm craving some cinnamon rolls, so let's make those too.
I see. Talking about Yatsuhashi get you in the mood for something with cinnamon?
You betcha. Okay then, let's get started on that dough.
Hold on, Makina. Take a look at the clock.
Oh, 9 o'clock, eh? Perhaps Amane is on the bullet train by now.
Mayhaps yourself. Look at the other wall.
We practicing the left face, right face thing?
Wrong. I point to a large piece of paper hanging on the wall. The words "Summer Vacation Schedule" scrawled across the top in Makina's handwriting.
What's this? Schedule? And some new type of textile?
Playing dumb isn't much good when you're the one who wrote the damn thing. 9 in the morning is homework time, right?
Look, this homework is just stuff Amane decided to make me do all on her own, you know. It's not like the school gave me any.
True enough, and Amana's not around, so I guess it's all good. Ah ha 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 ha.
Right, ah ha ha the ha.
Were you seriously expecting me to say that, idiot?
What? Come on now, ain't no cause to fly off the handle.
If you're thinking I'm going to be a soft touch compared to Amane, you got another thing coming. You decided the schedule yourself, so I want to see you at least pretending to follow it.
Just pretending's enough?
Not like you'll learn anything if I force you to study when you don't want to. But at the very least, make yourself sit in front of your desk at a set time every day and pretend to study. Once that becomes a habit, your brain will start waking up all on its own when the time comes. You'll be able to focus intently and get a great deal done in a short time.
Really?
There's no point in trudging along through your textbooks for hours on end. 1 hour is just about right for a study session. Give it a try and you'll see.
Somehow I feel like you're trying to pull one over me here.
Set aside a specific time every day for focused, undistracted study. I learned that simple technique from my big sister. Apart from her school subjects, she could consistently produce outstanding results in virtually anything with nothing more than an hour or so of daily review. And once I adopted her study method, I managed to maintain a fairly respectable academic standing in my own right. When you get used to studying in brief chunks, you naturally start challenging yourself, pushing to see how far you can get within the limited time you have. Sometimes you'll look back after the hour's finished and be stunned at how much you accomplished. And so, starting off with a quintessentially Japanese just-for-show attitude. Makina sits before her homework problems and pretends to ponder them. But as the style of pretending is pretty superficial, it amounts to little more than a childish parody of real studying. Her pen doesn't move an inch. Just moaning in vaguely appropriate way doesn't really count. You know, at least try to use your head.
This pretending business sort of lamer than I expected.
Realizing that is step 1. I mean, the world would be overflowing with geniuses if you could get smarter with no effort, right? Guess it's all for the best though. Not like a super high IQ does much, but make life harder.
I sort of know what you mean. But I feel like geniuses who tell themselves that are probably pretty lonely people.
You're talking like you actually know something about this.
Well, yep. You probably wouldn't guess it to look at me, but people used to call me a prodigy when I was a kid, you know.
Ah, right. Think I sort of know where you're coming from. People labeled prodigies and geniuses often come off as a little broken in the head.
You're not laughing, huh?
At what?
I said I used to be a prodigy, but you're not laughing.
Didn't you hear me? I kind of understand what you mean. I don't have first-hand experience, but my hyper-competent big sister fell into a similar category. Children labeled prodigies have their hands full of just meeting the expectations of those around them, and their brilliance earns resentment and jealousy from peers. At best, they end up walled off by their own exceptional status. As my big sister often said, once they've set you apart, you are left with a choice. You can struggle to stay the genius, or you can play the fool and become a clown. And come to think of it, it's easy to imagine that where my sister chose the former option, Makina went for the latter. You don't have to pretend to be an idiot around me, you know.
I think you're overestimating me a bit there. To be honest, I've been pretending to be an idiot for so long I can't figure out if the real me is who the real me is anymore. What kind of person do you want me to be, Power?
Guess I like it the way you are. Well, not that I want you to keep acting like a doofus, but there's a lot I like about you right now.
For example?
Let's see. For example, the way you are earnest and proactive about everything. The way you never give up on something without even trying. These last few weeks I've deliberately said some pretty absurd things to Makina. Made some unreasonable demands. Even so, the girl gives everything a try. She's eager to discover new things she can do and willing to work hard at things she can't yet manage. And when she does succeed at a task she struggled with, she comes running right over to me with a face full of pride, fishing for compliments. At the end of the day, the girl might just want my praise and respect, but it hardly matters why, does it? When I pat her on the head and say, "You did well," and see her squint like a contented little kitten, mysteriously enough, I find myself thinking, alright, what should I teach her next? Almost like an affectionate parent. I find that more than a little strange, but I can't deny it makes me happy as well. I'm willing to bet my master felt something similar when she adopted me. Looking at it from that angle, this make-believe game seems almost like some karmic mission pressed on me by fate. It's a slightly creepy thought, but there's also something fulfilling about it. I definitely like having you around, and I think you're cute the way you are. But that doesn't mean I'm okay with you being a clown for the rest of your life. I want to make that clear.
Well, yeah, I get that I can't stay like this forever, you know. Gotta say though, what's studying gonna do to change things? I mean, why do I even gotta study in the first place?
Let's see. In your case, the fact that you're already pretty comfortable financially might be the biggest problem. Most compelling reason to study is probably when it's a step towards some lucrative future or dream career. I mean, once you've decided what you want to do with your life, reading textbooks isn't exactly crucial. Like, if you're determined to become a pianist, you can focus entirely on studying the piano and ignore the rest. Well, that's something of an extreme angle, granted. Point is, it doesn't matter so much what you're learning. If you're really determined to become a concert pianist, for example, the piano becomes the lens through which you see everything else. By engrossing yourself in the piano, you can gain a rich, broad understanding of the world, the kind of deep knowledge you'd never pick up from thumbing indifferently through textbooks. People can get myopic, of course. The difference between the word specialist and the term idiot savant is the difference between seeing the world through your field and mistaking your field for the world itself. Peering through the lens I picked up from my master, I got a pretty decent feel for the way things work out there. And as I learned, every scope you can pick offers its own unique perspective. Gazing through your chosen lens helps shape your values and define you as a person. Makina, do you have any, I don't know, dreams? Something you want to be when you grow up? That sort of thing?
Let's see. Right now being a baker or a sniper seems pretty cool, I guess.
Well, you're not lacking in variety at least.
You got the vaguely warm world of a baker soothing people's souls through the taste buds, and a cold sniper tracking a distant target with death in their eyes. When it comes to common ground, I guess they're both occupations requiring a lot of stoic behind-the-scenes effort. While I'm feeling a little dubious about Makina's future planning right now, as a parent I should be trying to leave as many paths open to her as possible. And considering my role as her master, I feel obligated not to laugh in her face. That said, what exactly am I supposed to do for her right now? That is a lot less clear. Glancing down at my watch, I find the dial reading 10 AM. Alright, that's an hour. We're done studying. But I haven't even started anything yet.
If you're unhappy over wasting an hour of your life, why not use that time a little more productively tomorrow? Keep at it and take baby steps. That's how you form a lasting habit. I turn to the copy of Makina's schedule on the wall. The next block of the day has the words "Playtime" scribbled to it in sloppy letters. Seems we have some recreation next, but I have to say, doesn't this schedule have a great deal of playtime?
That's kinda how it is when I got the day off from the store, you know. Anywho, time to play with me!
Again with this? Play what?
Well, what do you used to play at your school, Papa?
Don't think I recall a lot of playing in general. I'd gotten used to a way of life where extracurricular activities were limited to eating and sleeping, so my off days were usually some combination of napping, reading books, and studying. As for the guys around me, it was all carts, ponies, or boats. The rare outliers were the ones who opted for bikes or motorcycles instead. And I'm not about to ask the girl ponies or poker. In the first place, I only went to the races or casinos when they forced me to tag along on a group outing. In my old school, you needed to submit an application to leave the grounds for your days off. Without a stamped authorization card, they wouldn't let you take a single step outside.
Ooh, kinda sound like a pain in the ass.
It was indeed. There were a bunch of people who didn't get out much, myself included.
So what, you gonna spend this whole summer vacation just lounging around the dorm?
No, I'm planning to visit a grave for one thing.
A grave? Whose?
My master's in Yamanashi. Need to clean it up and all that.
When are you going?
I haven't decided yet, but sometime before the Bon Festival. Figured I'd set a welcoming fire.
Okay then, let's go today.
Today?
Yeah, I'll start making some boxed lunches right away.
To be certain, it seems a little more constructive than hanging around the dorm aimlessly, and I did give JP advance warning of my plans. It's a little sudden, but I don't see any reason why not.
I take my private cell phone from my breast pocket and navigate to the number marked JB, Harudereguria, and press the call button.
Yes?
The phone rings several times before JB picks up. Her voice oozes with the bleary displeasure of an overworked public servant pulled out of bed by a telemarketer.
Were you sleeping?
There's been a lot of annoying work lately. I was just taking a little nap. Do you want something?
It's about that trip to Asako's grave. I decided to go today.
This is pretty abrupt. Didn't I tell you to report in once you figured out a date with at least 3 days advance warning?
Thing is, when I woke up this morning, Asako was standing at my bedside with a bitterly resentful look on her face, cursing me for not visiting her grave. I burst into tears and said, "You've got it all wrong. It's all JB's fault," but she just wouldn't seem to buy it.
Come again? Why'd you blame me?
JB, you were just sleeping yourself, right? Tell me, has Asako's spirit paid you a visit yet?
Hey, cut it out. I hate this sort of thing.
In any case, I've got to visit Asako's grave ASAP. Give me permission to leave the prefecture.
Alright. I'll give you permission. Email me the means of transportation you'll be using and a full schedule itinerary, including any stopovers on the way.
Affirmative.
Please don't tell me you're planning to spend days and days walking there again.
No, this time I'll be using conventional public transport.
Halfway through the sentence, I happen to notice Amane's helmet lying in the corner of the room.
Hold on. Actually, I think I'll get there on my own power after all.
You're going to run?
No, I'll go by motorbike.
A motorcycle? Whose?
I'm borrowing Amane's.
It's going to be a huge headache if you break a traffic law or get in an accident, you know. Please, just take the train.
How many times do I have to tell you that I can't stand trains?
In that case, I won't give you permission. Or so I'd like to say, but I doubt that will stop you.
Glad to see you understand the nature of our situation. Give me the go-ahead.
Make sure to email me the license plate, VIN and compulsory insurance number of the vehicle you're using, understood?
Got it. I'll send that before I leave. Alright then.
We're going on Amane's Bobotaro?
Bobotaro?
That's the name of the bike.
Yeah, that's right. Amane did say I could use it at any time, you know. Figured I might as well take the chance to ride for it the first time in a while. She did insure the thing properly, right?
I don't know.
The document would probably be with the vehicle itself, I guess. Let's go take a look.
After locating a motorcycle key engraved with the letter K among numerous others dangling on a hook by the door inside Amane's room, Mark and I promptly head to the parking lot near the courtyard. Amane does talk about this bike every once in a while, but I've never actually seen her riding the thing. In fact, although I've noticed a likely looking vehicle sitting under a cover a lot, I've never actually cast the eyes on the beast itself.
Amane once said, I'm not sure what the name was, but Kawasaki 250, I guess? At first I pictured some sporty touring model with a parallel twin engine, but then again Chizuru described it as a chopper. That wouldn't look out of place within an American biker game. So just what do we really have here? Bracing myself for anything, I tear off the cover dramatically. What the hell? And still the very first word out of my mouth a simple expression of disbelief. Even before I removed the top, I had a feeling something was off. For general commercial model, the thing was just too short and too long. And indeed, the vehicle under the sheet is no mere motorcycle. It's a genuine hot rod, ridiculously low set, modified so violent that I can't even guess what the original model was. This is ridiculous. Looks like they've cut it apart with a blowtorch and saw and mashed it back together again. And the rear suspension is ludicrously short. I can't even remember the last time I saw a lowrider like this. Just from a glance, I can tell the frame's been cut at the neck, then elongated with a new weld at a different angle. And the conventional seat rail seems to have been chopped off entirely. It's been replaced by a small tandem seat sitting demurely on top of a tacked-on flat rear fender. Hell, even the main saddle's been replaced with a cruiser seat. I'd been expecting to find the documents in the storage page under the seat, which clearly doesn't exist anymore. For a moment I just stared at the hacked-together monstrosity in astonishment. I'm not that familiar with the genre, but I guess it's the sort of motorcycle you'll call old school. I see, this really is the sort of thing you could picture some American biker riding. That said, the delinquents over there are all riding supersports or power cruisers these days. The only people who really appreciate the classic American style anymore are old men with beer bellies and the Japanese.
Oh, been a while since I've seen this guy.
Tell me, Makina, you have any idea where she stashed the papers?
Probably there. Not like there's anywhere else you could put him, really.
Makina points out an inconspicuous leather tool bag hanging off the side of the motorcycle, secured with a fastener with a small padlock. Ah, right. There'd been a small key I couldn't identify on the same ring as the motorcycle key. Guess it must be for that bag. Let's see, papers are... oh, there we go. After removing the lock, I begin rifling through the contents of the cylindrical bag. Sifting through a minor assortment of tools, I discover a sheaf of papers rolled into a plastic tube. Owner Su Amane. We got the VIN and license plate number and the compulsory insurance. Looks like it's good through April next year. Damn, she even got supplementary insurance with a rider covering passenger.
Well, Amane's got it together with that sort of stuff.
We should learn from her example. Alright then, looks like there won't be any issues using this.
Guess so, the only main problem is whether it's actually gonna move.
What?
Seems like the old man's been a bit out of sorts lately. She hasn't been riding it at all these days.
Well, when you chop it up and sew it back together like Frankenstein's monster, it's hardly surprising the thing might get a little cranky.
Okay then, I'll leave Popataro to you. I'm gonna get started on then lunches.
Indeed, I'll take care of it. That said, easy enough to talk big, but what's the deal with this thing? I can't even tell what it used to be before they started hacking away at it. Looking at the papers, it seems like the base was an off-road motorcycle, more precisely a dual-purpose trail bike that could handle messing around in the dirt. But the motor model doesn't match the vehicle type. Did they swap in an engine from a totally different motorcycle? Completely ridiculous. Hell, where do you even put the key into this thing? There's nothing that looks like an ignition cylinder on the top bridge. After repeatedly looking over both sides, I finally discover the keyhole's been relocated under the main seat to the right. Inserting the key, I give it an exploratory half turn to the right, and in the custom millimeter wedged on the left of the tank, the green neutral light and red oil light blink to life. Battery seems to be alive. I reach out for the right handle and feel around for the starter switches, but they aren't where I expected them to be either. Looking more carefully at the engine, the self-starter motor seems to have been removed entirely. The hole's plugged up with a black rubber stopper. It's a kick? Fighting down a wave of irritation, I look over to the right side of the frame and find the kickstart lever. It's unusually shaped, looks like custom ordered. Probably designed to keep the brake from getting in the way when you're kicking it down to start it. Wait, is this thing forward on the left and mid-control on the right? Unbelievable. Guess I should be grateful they didn't throw on a suicide clutch while we were at it. Probably because the rear brake is a cable-pulling drum type, the pedal is positioned further back compared to the shift lever on the left side. Seems like it will feel a little awkward, little weird. I mean, once the thing gets up to speed, you'll just be resting on your right foot on the forward peg anyway, but having to move your leg all the way back to get to the brake is even more disconcerting. In any case, let's see how the engine runs. I flip open the cap of the carelessly unlocked tank and find plenty of gasoline inside. And within seconds I can see volatilizing petroleum shimmering in the summer sunshine. Looks as though the fuel's still good. After switching the petcock valve on the tank from off to on, I pull the choke plunger on the carburetor halfway out. Then put my foot on the kickstart and lightly press around the lever in search of the top dead center. The moment I discover the point of greatest resistance, I give it a good hard kick. Oh, that was easy enough. Considering how long the vehicle's just been sitting here neglected, the motorcycle starts up so easily that it actually feels a bit of an anticlimax. A vehicle this heavily customized is normally a bit more ornery. Was Amane actually keeping this thing maintained all the time it's been sitting here? Just as I'm feeling a good bit of admiration from its owner, there's a strange little sneeze from the motorcycle's exhaust pipe, and its vigorously idling engine abruptly stalls. Whoops, well, figured it wouldn't be that easy. I give the kick pedal another vigorous step, but this time it doesn't even cough. There's no sign of the ignition even engaging. You've got to be kidding me, right? Battered by the blazing sun, lukewarm sweat trickling heavily down my forehead, I mash down on the kick lever again and again. The neutral light's still on, and so the electronics are still functioning. The battery is a small MF type designed to power mopeds and scooters, but with a kickstart that should be more than enough. Even though the electrical system's fine, we're not getting a spark, and the engine did start once just a minute ago, which would mean $10 says the CDI's on the fritz. Capacitor Discharge Ignition, or CDI for short, is a generic term for an electronic device that controls ignition of an engine. Among the extremely simple mechanical parts of a typical motorcycle engine, it stands out as a comparatively advanced piece of electronics. Because of that complexity, it's not uncommon for it to malfunction, especially given its position in a rough environment of high heat and constant vibration. Sometimes it'll abruptly stop working entirely. Damn it, where's the CDI? Peering under the tank, I find the ignition coil and follow it along the harness. No, that's the turn signal relay, and this is the headlight booster relay. Okay, what's this thing? The fuse box? The fuse isn't blown. God damn it, it's hot! A black puddle of sweat forms on the ground beside me as I squat next to the bike. CDI, where's the damn CDI? After a good 10 minutes of groping along the harness, I finally notice an inconspicuous side cover just below the seat on the left side. After removing it, I discover a square black object sitting next to the regulator rectifier. Found it! There you are, you little bastard! Carefully removing the coupler connecting the CDI to the harness, I intently scrutinize the little black box, but there's no visual evidence of it being damaged. Then again, it's not exactly the sort of part you can reliably assess by eyeballing. Reaching my thumb around behind the plastic cover, I gently rub the electronic guts off the units through the protective coat of epoxy resin. When the CDI is keeping the engine from starting, this will often be enough to bring it back to life. Of course, that's really just a temporary stopgap measure, not a resolution of the fundamental problem. But if this does get the engine firing again, that would confirm the CDI is responsible. Reattaching the freshly massaged piece of electronics to its coupler, I press down firmly on the kick pedal once more. I told you so, asshole. It really was the CDI. Hand over that 10. As I vent my spleen on some vaguely defined imaginary foe, Amane's motorcycle, Bobotaro, springs easily back to life. It proceeds to rumble pleasantly away under me. I have to say though, this thing is pretty noisy. I'll take this sort of growling over high-pitched shrieking any day, but if I got this thing going and drove past some elementary school, it'll definitely be loud enough to get the kids grimacing and covering their ears with their heads. Oh well, guess I'll have to stuff some steel wool or something in the exhaust pipe to quiet it down. I just watch over the thing as it idles for a while, but the engine doesn't seem inclined to sputter off again. Maybe the CGI itself wasn't the issue. The contact with the coupler might just have been off. Temporarily stopping the engine, I checked the oil and lights, then moved on to testing the front and rear brakes. All good. But when I finally get around to looking at the air pressure on the tires... Christ, are you serious? It's got a flat tire. Am I going to have to change a tire in this absurd heat? Cut me a damn break already. Sighing heavily, I lean my head back and gaze up into the sky. Within seconds, I can feel the tip of my nose scorching under the blazing sunlight. I'm sorely tempted to just say screw it, but after all this effort, giving up and going by train would be seriously galling in its own right. This right here might take some time. Muttering an excuse to no one in particular, I decide to temporarily return to my room and rehydrate myself. For a moment, I'm seriously tempted to take the wheel off entirely and lug it to my bathroom to patch up. But fortunately, it doesn't prove to be anything quite that serious. When I start pumping air back into the tire, it inflates back up normally, and the pancake on the bottom disappears completely in a matter of minutes. Why is it that tube tires always manage to lose air just sitting in a parking lot? While this minor mystery nags me at me somewhat, by the time 11 rolls around, we've successfully readied everything we need for our trip. Alright, are all preparations for the departure complete?
Box lunch prepared, cell phone fully charged, drinking water secured, health insurance cards at the ready. We are good to go, sir.
Excellent. The time is currently 1100 hours. We're beginning the operation. All personnel embark.
Hooah!
Straddling Bobotaro like a bold general swinging into his warhorse, I deposit Makina in the tandem seat and make sure she's got a firm grip on my waist. Then kick the bike into first gear with the tip of my left foot and slowly squeeze the clutch to lever to the handle. Looks like it's going to be another hot one. You did put on that sunscreen, right?
Yeah, you betcha. And I make sure to bring the bottle along so I can recoat too.
As we begin to leisurely potter along the coastal road in the direction of Yamanashi prefecture, Makina and I talk through the two-way FM radios we used for our sniper games. Naturally, I've hooked them up to throat mics for hands-free operation.
You're a pretty good driver, Papa, aren't you? I don't think there's anything any scarier than riding behind Amane. You're not really going too fast either.
You think? I mean, what kind of an idiot would start roaring around on a bike like this? If a tire loses a little air, your levers will be dragging along the ground. A low center of gravity is nice, but this is ridiculous. I've never driven a motorcycle this bizarrely low to the ground before, but just as leisurely gliding along in the wake of the car ahead doesn't feel half bad. That said, I can't help thinking its overall lack of power and weak maneuverability is going to be an issue once we get on those steep mountain roads. Well, let's just take it slow and easy.
You and Amane are so lucky, you got licenses. We can go wherever you want like this.
You are old enough to have a license yourself, Makina. Why don't you take the test?
I said the same thing to Amane once, you know? Told her I wanted to get a license. And she's all, don't do that, it's too dangerous. If it's so freaking dangerous, how come she does it, you know? What a total hypocrite.
Well, I guess I can sort of understand how she feels.
It's easy to picture Makina hopping on a moped or something, shouting, okay then, I'm going off to play, tottering off into the distance. At which point you'd be sitting by the phone biting your nails waiting for a call from some hospital or the police. But when you snatch away something from a child and tell them it's dangerous, they'll go to lengths to play with it behind your back. Personally, I feel like it's better just to let them learn under your strict supervision, but maybe that's the testosterone-infused way of looking at it. Wonder if I can learn to drive this thing too.
Let's see, the way you balance, turn and stop are all pretty similar to a bicycle, so I don't think it would be possible for you to learn. But unlike Amane, you are short, have stubby legs, might be a little tricky for you to get the hang of it right now.
So that's a no?
For starters, let's stick to practicing on your bicycle. Maybe next time we could try some game Kana in the parking lot at school.
What's that?
It's an ideal game for learning the most fundamental part of operating a two-wheel vehicle, shifting your body weight while controlling the contact patch and load on your tires. You compete for the best time in an obstacle course.
Sounds kind of fun.
You'll fall off constantly until you get used to it, you know. I know I did.
By the way, Papa, when's the first time you ever rode a motorcycle?
When I was 14 or so, I think. Drove around on the private land and up in the mountains where I was living with my master.
Right, she started me off by making me climb onto the full-size dirt bike she used to ride, and my legs weren't even close to reaching the ground. So I'd have to reach up and squeeze the clutch with one foot on the gear shift, then swing up onto the seat only after the thing started moving. Getting it started wasn't a picnic, but stopping was just as much of a pain. I had a choice between decelerating as much as possible before jumping down onto the brake, or stopping myself manually with a foot against some stone or tree. Looking back on it now, it's pretty impressive that I managed to ride that thing at all.
What was it like? Were you scared at first? I've been riding bicycles for a long time, so I don't remember being particularly scared. After all, I wasn't trying to pull any death-defying stunts. Compared to the terror I'd experienced previously, it probably didn't even register. Come to think of it, I didn't feel particularly afraid the first time I took my master's place in the field either. Even after finishing the job, returning home and completing my report, when she asked, "Were you scared?" I honestly answered no. Hell, it almost felt like I had fun. But when night came and there was nothing left to do but take a bath and go to sleep, I found myself holding my dick over the toilet bowl, completely unable to piss. A small twinge of doubt ran through me, and I finally noticed that my hands were shaking. As the tension was finally drained out of me like a string removed from a bow, I was seized by terror so intense I thought I might never stop shaking. I had casually, almost thoughtlessly, slipped into a situation where one wrong step could have meant death. Mixed in with the fear was a wave of thankfulness for my sheer dumb luck. I was fortunate today, but the dice might very well fall differently next time. With that thought, the shaking grew stronger. Even now I can vividly remember the terror I felt that night. But after experiencing that fear again and again, I guess, Jack, you could say I obtained the ability to control these feelings. Or maybe I just gained a nose for danger and the instinct to avoid it. When you get right down to it, I think it might just be a matter of experience and caution. Put in enough hours to develop the foresight to see trouble coming ahead of time and you'll be completely fine. You're at the greatest risk when you start thinking, "I'm on top of my game today, bring it on." Basically, don't get too carried away or you'll end up taking a fall. That pretty much sums up riding a bicycle. A motorcycle. I've already explained this with the bicycle last time, but any vehicle is safe enough as long as you stay aware of your surroundings and give yourself a generous margin for error.
I gotcha. It's like you told me before, yeah? Go half your comfortable maximum normally and 70% when you're in a rush. If it starts feeling scary and you're already past 80, best to stay at least one step below scary territory, right?
Yep, you got the idea. Incidentally, right now I'm going about half my baseline pace.
How fast we going right now?
Don't know how much I can trust a millimeter wedged into a different company's bike, but roughly 50 kilometers per hour.
I see. Sort of one step above pick it up brand territory.
Given this speed and following the distance, even if the guy in the front of us spills hot coffee on his pants and smashes into the guardrail, we wouldn't have any problem dealing with the situation.
Safety is fastest in the long run, right? Maybe I should try and get a license like you guys after all.
What's it like driving a motorcycle anyway? Posed this question by Makina, I briefly paused to consider. Do you remember the first day you rode a bicycle? For Makina, it was practically just the other day, so I'm sure she remembers it vividly. The feelings it inspired might not even have faded completely. On the day you learned to ride a bike, the day you pedaled alone down an unfamiliar road for the first time, didn't it feel like the world had suddenly grown larger around you? This world's an endless road that can take you anywhere at all, and that bicycle could carry you much, much further than your weak little legs. That first day, did you ask yourself, just how far can I go? The first day I rode a motorcycle, that open question was replaced with something that felt like an answer. I can go wherever the hell I want. That's what a motorcycle is. You understand what I'm saying?
I don't get it. Can you give me an abbreviated version?
I don't know. You can go where you want, stop where you want, or even just ride along with no destination if you want. That's a motorcycle.
You condensed it so much it's even harder to understand than before.
I consult my watch to discover it's already 1 in the afternoon. As if on cue, Makina begins complaining about her grumbling stomach, so I pull over at random in a suitable spot and lay out our plastic picnic sheet for a late lunch. The lunchboxes Makina prepared were, as she had declared earlier, packed primarily with freshly baked cinnamon rolls and pumpkin bread. According to Makina, making these things required comparatively little effort on her part, as the bread machine took care of the primary fermentation. But that said, the taste is nothing to scoff at. The girl claims that anyone with a bread maker and a functional brain could achieve such result. I'm slightly moved to learn that we are living in an area where even amateurs can produce bread of this caliber, but at the same time, I feel as though I've caught a glimpse of dark clouds gathering on the horizon for the bakery industry.
Hey Papa, see all those short little trees growing over there? Are those grape trees?
Okay, first of all, grapes grow on vines. Secondly, those are mulberry trees.
Mulberry? Is that like a grape loyal companion?
Not that I know of. Why are you so caught up on the grapes anyway?
I mean, we're in Yamanashi, you know.
Okay, try not to talk as though Yamanashi's got nothing but grapes to offer the world. The good people of Qa'Rajh will give you a swift boot to the rear.
Why not? Do they got something other than grapes then?
Peaches?
Papa, I think them kosher people might end up coming for you first.
Wait, no, there's also a hoto soup and those rice cakes with black honey and, don't mess with the valley, okay?
I'm not really messing with anybody, you know. For one thing, I love grapes and pieces. Although Okayama's got plenty of that too.
Did you really have to say that last part? Such a cheeky little brat. Who'd you get that chutzpah from anyway?
I'm thinking you, Papa.
Oh, right. Well, anyway, that's a mulberry tree. Food for your bumpix mori.
There you go again with the weird words. What's this mori guy?
What, you don't know about silkworm moth? You farm the larvae and make silk from their cocoons. The industry's been around forever, you know.
Silks made by moth babies?
Yeah, it's a natural fiber. You didn't know that either?
Sort of like making a violin bow from the whiskers of a whale?
Wrong on many levels, but the strange thing is I can actually understand what you're trying to say somehow.
Can I go take a little look-see?
Just looking is fine by me, but don't start plucking off fruit, you got that? Also put your hat on first.
Gotcha!
Just like that, Makina darts off into the blazing sun, flapping her outstretched arm like a bird as she rushes over toward the mulberry field. Thanks to her diminutive frame, she looks like a young child heading off to play. The girl shows interest in anything and everything she encounters. When she runs into something she doesn't understand, she immediately asks, why? In return, I offer what answers I can from my own experience and knowledge. When that fails me, we think it over together. Sometimes hearing Makina's perspective leads me to new insights of my own. I guess this might be what people mean when they say teaching someone means learning from them in return. Come to think of it, it was my own instructor who told me that. The person who taught me everything and made me want to learn in the first place, not a parent or a teacher. Kusakabe Asako, my master, the woman who single-handedly built me up from nothing. For better or worse, I'm at least 80% the person she made me. She found a whelp crawling around along the bottom of the Valley of Despair, reached down her hand and pulled it up into the world of human beings. For Asako, picking me up might have been an afterthought, an impulsive spur-of-the-moment decision, not much more than a whim. Even so, if I hadn't met her, I wouldn't be what I am today. I probably would have given up on life outright a long time ago. But Asako was there, on that day, in that moment. She took me by the hand. Thanks to her and the people around her, primarily a certain aggravating shaggy-headed blonde, I'm standing here today. I'm still living, carrying the final words she left me in my heart. What was the point of keeping a piece of trash like me alive? I want an answer to that question. That, more than anything else, is what keeps me going.
Papa! Papa!
Yeah? What's up?
I saw the mulberry field. There were lots and lots of longhorn beetles.
No, hey, wait a second. What are you eating?
What? It's a watermelon. See? There's an old farmer lady over there, right? Got it from her partner.
Okay, you put a finger in your mouth and stared at the melon with the big wistful eyes, didn't you? Please tell me you at least said thank you.
Well, I think that we'll something proper.
Wait. She already picked up some weird snatches of Qa'Rajh dialect just from talking with a local for a few minutes. The girl sure adapts quickly. No, maybe her brain's just pliable as a piece of putty. I stand beside Makina, and bow deeply to the kind foreigner. Alright then, seems like we're more than hydrated enough. I think it's time we got back on the road.
Yes, let's get along see on the double, Papa.
You know, your dialect's a little off there. Seems like the field artillery is practicing today. When my ears begin to pick up the air-shaking thunder of the guns in the distance, it feels like we're finally entered Yamanashi, I know. Among the vehicles we pass on the road, squat, medium trucks and high-mobility vehicles painted khaki grow increasingly common. At one point I make eye contact with the commander sticking his head out of the cupola on a passing Type 96, and have to restrain the impulse to salute. I have to say, Makina, for someone who's supposedly so shy around strangers, you're pretty sociable. Although Irisu Makina has firmly established her position as the shy girl at Mihama Academy, from what I have seen, this reputation seems somewhat exaggerated. In fact, just the other day I witnessed her impudently sponging chestnut candy off some old couple on a bench outside a sweet shop in the shopping district.
How rude! You make me sound like some evil con artist taking advantage of adult old fogies with imperative judgment to nab myself a bit of candy.
Well, you did in fact proceed to munch away at the chestnut with a dopey look of bliss on your face. There might have been some snorting and snuffling involved.
Well, yeah, maybe there was. Maybe I ate those suckers. Maybe they asked me, do you want some? So I just said, yeah, like the honest soul I am. It's not like I was begging for that chestnut, you know?
Right. So my question is, how exactly are you supposed to be shy again?
It's not like I'll talk to just anyone, you know? I sort of pick and choose.
Come to think of it does seem like you're always targeting kind-looking older people.
Look, can you try not to put it like that? I mean, not that you're wrong or anything, but...
So I guess elderly people don't seem so scary, is that it?
Well, sorta. Might just be that I'm more used to them. I mean, I was in the hospital for 6 years with a bunch of half-dead geezers for company. You know, I got an eye for geezers by now.
What? So, what? Because she spent all that time surrounded by geezers, she never had the chance to pick up the niceties of interacting with people at her age, making it awkward to approach them, I guess?
There are two kinds of old people out there. The ones who've tasted the sweet and bitter sides of life, gained the perspective to accept the world for what it is and ease into tranquil maturity. And the shameless rock-headed geezers who decide their experience are the only thing that matters, wasting their final years bitterly cursing everyone with different opinions and values. People tend to call the former kind a kindly elder and the latter kind of grumpy old fogey. But anywho, since I was sitting around in the hospital for 6 whole years and all, I'm pretty freaking confident in my ability to pick the good geezers from the rotten ones in a whole different level.
I see.
By the way, Papa, you're pretty crotchety yourself. The whole reason I started warming up to you in the first place was I thought you were kind of like a grandpa.
A grandpa? Well, I do get you don't act much like a kid pretty frequently, but this is a first.
Well, I don't know, maybe grandpa ain't the right word, but you're weirdly calm, I guess. And it's like, I don't know, there's something real steady and solid deep down at you, like a tough old tree or something. Like a samurai, a young warrior, that sort of vibe maybe.
Now that you mention it, there was this one time JB saw me repairing my tools on the weekend, said, "You look like a Ronin making umbrellas."
Yeah, something like that.
True enough, I never disliked jobs that called for a steady accumulation of sober effort, but I can't say I was expecting a comparison to a masterless swordsman living austerely off his handicrafts. About 2.5 hours have passed since our departure from the dorm. We reached an area I know by sight, no longer even bothering to check the map. I doggedly ride up familiar mountain roads toward our destination. The path begins to narrow steadily. It's still paved, fortunately, but soon it's thin enough to serve the description of farm road. If a car were to come in the opposite direction, we wouldn't be able to pass each other by. That said, the odds of us running into traffic are pretty much zero. At this point, all we have ahead of us is one lonely cell phone tower and an iron gate guarding the entrance to an obscure national forest. The only people we could possibly run into up here would be the maintenance workers for the telecom company, or tourists who took a few wrong turns, I suppose. Bobotaro labors up the final stretch of road, straining to carry his 2 passengers up a 15-degree slope, 26 at its worst point. His tablets clack beneath us in constant chorus of complaint. And finally, after passing 3 sets of faded signboards reading "Authorized personnel only beyond this point," set some 100 meters apart, the iron gate we're looking for comes into view. "We're here, Makina."
Whoopsie-doops!
Makina spreads her legs wide open to push herself over the tandem seat, lowering herself to the ground in a less than refined fashion.
Ah! My bottom screams with agony. Are my buttocks bleeding?
The girl rubs her tender rear end through her skirt, twirling around like a dog chasing its own tail. Turning my back on her, I insert my key into the padlock on the hefty iron gate.
"So, is this your mountain, Papa?"
"Well, it's technically the country's mountain. My master and I lived in the cabin up there, managing the land."
"Where's this cabin? I don't see it."
"Let's see. Just is about a 30-minute walk from here."
Yeah, we gotta walk?
"I'd like to ride up there myself, but I don't think Papaterra would handle a rocky slope like this too well."
Beyond the open gate, a coarse gravel road continues into the mountain, slanting sharply upward at a good 30 degrees or so. Unless you're driving a four-wheel drive Jeep or dirt bike with off-road tires, getting a vehicle up this would be pretty tricky. Amane's Papaterra is a road bike, poorly suited to mountain trails to begin with, and given the ridiculous low-rider remodeling, it clearly gets it belly stuck in the dirt before climbing more than 10 meters. Don't tell me, we're gonna be climbing a ridiculously steep trail like this for 30 straight minutes?
"No, it's only steep by the entrance. After 30 meters or so, the slope gets a lot more gentle."
I suppose there's nothing for it. I'll try to think of it as a nice little leisurely hike.
I kill Papaterra's engine, then sling Makina's rucksack over my left shoulder. Leaving our friend sitting in the first gear in the middle of the road, the two of us step past the gate. Things haven't changed much in my absence from the mountain. As always, the air is thick with the lusty cries of cicadas, but there's no sign of human presence. Other than the squawking insects, the only sounds are the crunching of our feet against the gravel and weeds, and Makina's labored breathing growing quicker and louder with every minute. "You alright?"
Yeah, I'm fine.
The girl can be surprisingly stubborn at times like these. Probably an attempt to demonstrate she's not a helpless weakling who needs to be babied constantly. Still have to be sure to keep an eye on her though, or she might end up collapsing to the ground, falling asleep on the spot.
Hey, can I ask you a question, Papa?
About what?
The person whose grave you're visiting, your master, what kind of person was she?
Well, let's see. Where do I even begin? Come to think of it, although I've brought Asako up numerous times, I don't remember getting into details. I mean, nobody really seemed that interested. No, I guess it was just too awkward to ask. My master's name was Kusakabe Asako. We first met when I was 12 or 13 or so. She was a lot older than me, obviously. I'd lost my entire family a while before this. At the time, a friend of my dad had taken me in, but... well, that family friend was what you'd call a bad guy. The kind of man who slips through the cracks in the law, profiting of misery and tearing money away from soft-hearted people. The bad guy in question made some enemies on the shadier side of our government, but bit off a little more than he could chew. They decided to bring the hammer down. And the small assault force that invaded the villain's lair, well, mansion, and suppressed it in the blink of an eye was led by my master, Kusakabe Asako.
So the person who saved you from the bad guy when you were a kid became your master?
Yeah, that's the basic outline.
So, were you living here with your master ever since?
Not constantly. We lived here for the first year or so, but I ended up getting shipped off to America fairly soon because of some circumstances with Asako's employer.
San Diego, California, right?
Good memory.
After that it was Quantico in Virginia, but you ended up in Japan eventually, I guess.
That's right. And between all that, I lived with Asako. She's the one who helped me find the strength I needed to live.
So, in other words, just like you're a papa to me, your master was a mama to you?
Don't think mommy quite covers it. If I had to categorize a woman, I'd say she was my master. But in that sense, she raised a cowardly, snot-nosed brat into a reasonably competent man. I guess you could say that she was something like a mother. Kusakabe Asako was the only person I'd ever called master, and the only person I ever will. I was nothing but a filthy little cockroach she happened to carry home from her job one night. We weren't related, she had no obligation to do anything but flush me down the toilet, and instead she spent the rest of her life raising me. The woman was a force of nature, infallible and unshakable. Even if she's gone, Kusakabe Asako will always be the strongest woman in the world to me. Just as I estimated, after about 30 minutes of trudging up the mountain forest, the forest around us begins to turn thin, and the rough dirt trail grows gentle and slow. As we reach an even plot of land that seems to have been cut neatly out of the natural plateau, a single log cabin comes into view, beyond a chained-up metal gate. Alright, Makina, we're here.
I'm exhausted. Too hot. I'ma die. Is that the house you grew up in, Papa?
Grew up in? Well, I guess you could say that. Yeah, this is the house where I was raised. It's only been 2 months or so since I left, but the cabin's already under siege by thick wild grasses. The sight inspires a small twinge of melancholy. I'm tempted to start attacking those reeds right away, but I guess we should go in and rest for a while first.
Uh-oh, inviting a girl back to your place? Are your intentions honorable, sir? Tee-hee-hee.
Don't tee-hee-hee me, kid. Now I'll have to call Amane up and give her yet another scolding. Removing my key ring from the carabiner I've been using to fasten it to my belt, I select an old-fashioned key with a dull golden color. I push it into the equally old-fashioned keyhole on the oil-finished teakwood door and give it one rotation to the left. The interior of the cabin, naturally enough, hasn't changed at all since the month I was last saw it. Even after I left, I'm pretty confident JP kept up that melodramatic habit of dropping by for a solitary drink in memory of the departed. But although she's surprisingly averse to cleaning for someone with such an anal personality, it seems she wasn't quite lazy enough to leave her crumpled cans and potato chip wrappers lying around the place.
Oh, so this is the house where you were raised in, huh? There's sorta, I don't know, more stuff than I expected. Got a TV and all.
Well, it's not like I was living on my own. Only partially paying attention to the conversation, I wander over to the fridge and reach for the handle. Still cold. Guess the electricity's still flowing. Want something to drink?
Might have been a hasty offer.
Nothing but beer and smoked cheese, huh?
Naturally enough, I emptied out the fridge before leaving this cabin behind. What little we do have is clearly just leftovers from JP's visits. Other than the booze and snacks, there's also 3 bottles of my favorite eye drops sitting in the lower shelf. Probably the woman's attempt at a thoughtful gesture, in case I decided to return at some point. I retrieve 1 bottle of eye drops from the fridge and glance over at Makina.
Hey, Makina. Catch.
Wow! Whoa! What's this? Eye drops?
A sniper's eye are their life. Give the stuff a try. If you apply to both eyes 30 minutes before shooting and stretch your ocular muscles, your focus and speed changes pretty dramatically.
Let's see here.
Gazing curiously at the bottle in her hand, Makina carefully breaks the seal, then leans her head back with the mouth slightly ajar to apply the drops. 1 drop per eye is plenty. No need to blink too much either. Give it a second, then start slowly moving your eyes in figure of 8s. As her eyeballs begin to move back and forth underneath her lids, Makina's upper body sways along with them. Slowly open your eyes. Alternate between looking at something nearby and something far away. Help get you focusing properly.
Okay, something close, something far.
That's all there is to it. Just repeat this 4 times a day. Morning, noon, evening, and before you go to bed. You still listening?
Hey, Papa, that photo?
Makina's eyes, after focusing at random on a distant object, have stopped darting back and forth. She's staring at the middle of a small bookshelf, where a single photograph of Asako and me as a kid stands in the frame. When I left this cabin behind, I deliberately flipped it face down in an attempt at symbolic closure, but now it's been returned to its original position. Damn it, JP, mind your own business.
Is that person in the photo your master?
Yeah, that's right. I reach out and take the frame from the bookshelf. This is the one and only photograph of Asako remaining in this world. It was taken not long after she first took me in, the day she dragged me off to a zoo in Ueno on what seemed like a whim. Not really a photograph I want to show off, but... I pass over the frame to Makina, who proceeds to intently contemplate the photo inside. Asako glowers at the camera, eyebrows furrowed in clear irritation. At her side, a younger me stares coldly at nothing in particular, eyes clouded but glittering with a venomous sheen. I've got a pretty awful look on my face, right? At the time I was just completely empty. Didn't give a damn about anything or anyone. Pretty much just a dead kid that forgot to stop breathing. I guess Asako got so fed up watching me that she decided to try her hand at babysitting. Not exactly her field of expertise, you'll understand.
What happened to you?
It's a long story, but the abbreviated version is that my whole family died, and I was deeply involved in their deaths. I was responsible, so I couldn't just push the blame on someone else. That self-loathing was probably just too much for me to deal with. Wrap myself up in a shell instead.
Oh.
But thanks to Asako, I managed to get back on my feet somehow. She gave me, if not a reason to live, then at least an excuse not to die. I might seem almost too vigorous these days, but if I hadn't met Asako, if Asako hadn't taken me in, I might have well died a long time ago.
She saved your life?
Yeah. Then she went and died before I had the chance to repay the debt. Unbelievable, right?
That's sad.
That's not how I felt about it, actually. I didn't really mourn when Asako passed. I'd been prepared for the possibility she might die at any time, but for some reason I still had a hard time believing she was actually gone. Guess there was a part of me that couldn't accept that monster of a woman was really dead. If there was one word that described Asako, it was ridiculous. Not a shred of common sense in her body. She was a bull of a woman and the world was a personal china shop. And to me, she was something like a god. Or a devil. Maybe both.
A devil? A god? Either way, sounds like she was a pretty amazing person.
Okay, here's the story. This actually happened the same day that picture was taken. I was just sitting around, wallowing in self-hatred, holding a private pity party honestly. As if that was going to make up for anything. All of a sudden, Asako grabs me by the hand and drags me off to the zoo. She showed me all these animals I'd never seen before. Elephants, giraffes, zebras, the whole deal. Probably hoping to get at least some minor sign of interest out of me. But, well, I was really acting like a brat back then. I mean, I actually was a brat, but still. I kept myself inside that shell, not even twitching an eyebrow at anything she showed me. And I guess that attitude got Asako pretty irritable after a while. So the two of us are just standing there staring at the lions in complete silence. When all of a sudden this one big guy opens his mouth wide and tries to scare us off with a giant roar. And the next thing I know, Asako's bellowing, "Shut the hell up, don't growl at me, asshole, I'll fucking kill you." So yeah, she was sort of the person who'd get into a shouting contest with the king of the beast. And win. Woman was nuts.
Amazing.
I mean, her opponent was locked up in a cage. Anyone could have yelled at him if they wanted to. But when Asako screamed in his face, the animal actually flinched, then just backed away slowly. Should have seen the look on his face. So there I was, gawking up at her with my eyes open, thinking this woman's a complete lunatic, when I noticed I was smiling. Guess that was the moment when I started to slowly regain halfway normal emotions.
And thanks to that, I got to meet you. I should be grateful too, huh?
Well, I don't know about that. Who says meeting me was really a good thing? Hard to know for sure yet, don't you think?
Yeah, maybe. But at the very least, don't you think you're the biggest influence in my life right now, Papa?
When you put it like that, I feel a little weight on my shoulders. Hey, Asako, I feel the same way as Makina. I remember what you said to me just before you died. Sorry, Yuuji, ran my big mouth about teaching you how to live, but training you to do an ugly job in the shadows was the best I could manage. Maybe so, but I'm still grateful to you. Because even now, your words are what keep me stumbling forward. Without intending to do so, I ended up on a fairly lengthy digression about my path. Among many mixed emotions, a small flush of embarrassment rose to the surface. In an effort to hide this, I abruptly declared break time over, then led Makina around to the shed out back. Although we always called it a shed, the building itself is pretty impressive. Not that different from the main cabin in size. It's a storehouse packed full of tools and provisions necessary to live up here. I pull Makina along into the storehouse, seeking out weapons with which to confront the well-entrenched hordes of weeds that have flourished in the summer heat. Specifically, we receive a few hand scythes and spades, an old lawnmower, and a pair of straw hats hanging from the nails on the wall. A good straw hat with a wide brim is indispensable for weeding under a blazing sun. I put on the hat Asako used when she was alive, then dropped the smaller one I wore as a child onto Makina's head. It takes us another 5 minutes of climbing up to the mountain to reach Asako's grave, not far from the summit. Her gravestone stands in a spot affording an unbroken view of the basin below. While the location may be good, the gravestone itself is hardly worthy of the name. It's just a huge, fairly decent looking rock picked at random from the woods, then half buried in the ground to keep it erect. In fact, the rough surface of the stone doesn't even have a name chiseled into it. It's a crude marker and nothing else. Even so, there's no doubt that Asako's remains are resting here. I was the one who took the ashes from the funeral home and buried them. I was the one who raised the gravestone above them. When it came to religion, Asako's official position was no policy. She used to half-joke about it. If I croak, just bury me wherever. I don't want complain as long as you can burn me up first. You can just poke a popsicle stick in the ground for a gravestone. Left with these half-assed instructions to work off after Asako's death, JB arranged for the cremation, then agreed to leave the rest entirely to me. I was at a complete loss for a while, but in the end decided to make the mountain where we'd live together her final resting place. Nobody criticized that choice, remote and lonely as it might seem. Asako never had a family to begin with, and her best friend JB had no complaints about my decision. But since I was the one who chose the place, the duty of maintaining it also rests with me. Starting the engine of the lawnmower, I pushed up from the shed. I have Makina hang back while I mow down the weeds in one sweep. When that's done, I switch to my spade and quietly begin digging away the stubborn roots. Makina follows behind as I steadily work my way around the clearing. As I hack down the weeds and pull them out of the earth, she picks them up and collects them in a heavy-duty trash bag. It's ridiculously hot, dirty, monotonous work. Not a fun job in any way, shape or form, but Makina holds out surprisingly well, not complaining even once as we fight our way through overgrown wild grasses. We keep it up for maybe 2 hours, covered in sweat and grime. It feels even longer than that. By the time I finally sit down to stretch out my aching back, having fully liberated Asako's gravestone from the summer weeds that had nearly engulfed it, we filled 8 of our 70-liter trash bags to the brim. Well, guess that's good enough. I slowly raise my tired body off the ground, then turn around to look at Makina and her dirt-smeared face. Looking at the girl biting her lower lip with something uncertain in her eyes, I realize I've been hacking away at the weeds in total silence all this time. She may have been struggling along beside me in an attempt to be considerate. Slightly touched, I speak to her in the gentlest tone of voice I can manage. You're tired, right? Let's call it a day. Taking the towel I wrapped around my neck for protection against the sun, I wipe the dirt from her face. Apparently understanding from the gesture that I finished this simple greeting to my departed friend, Makina's formerly tense face loosened into a dopey, ticklish smile. By the time the colors of evening fill the sky, we put away our tools and return to the grave. I light a bundle of wooden chopsticks resting on a plate from the cabin's kitchen, a small welcoming fire for Asako's spirit. Since Asako loved her drink, I also brought a can of beer from the fridge. Popping it open, I set it upside down on the top of the gravestone and let the contents pour out. Then the thin fluttering flame and its columns of smoke are the signal beacon. The beer's the bait to make sure she doesn't hesitate to drop by. I close my eyes and press my hands together. A moment later I can hear Makina do the same. Hey Asako, I'm still dragging my sorry hide around, trying to figure out why you kept me alive. No luck on that front. But even so, I think there are a few things I'm starting to understand, little by little. The things I can do, the things only I can do, the things I have to do, and the things I want to do. Tell me something, Asako. Was this how it was for you as well? Did it start off as just a whim, taking me in like that? Even so, did that small presence at your side end up becoming your reason to live? I'm starting to feel like I can understand now. Not that it's complicated, really. You just saw her face one day, and somehow you just vaguely knew it was the one thing in the world you needed to protect. Am I right? All of a sudden, you're telling yourself, now I get it. Maybe I've been living this time so I could be here for this, to protect this one thing. This is Irisu Makina. I speak out loud to the wavering flame, introducing Makina to Asako's grave. See, look at that. I found something I want to protect as well. Just as you had your doubts back then, I don't know yet if I'm making the right decisions, and I understand that things never go as smoothly as planned. Amane and I, currently playing the roles of Mommy and Daddy, probably do possess broader experience and knowledge than Makina, and we like to think that we understand her to some degree. But even so, I can't say with any confidence the well-intentioned advice we give her is necessarily worthwhile. In separating the right from the wrong, there's only one decision that won't lead to regret. The one Makina makes herself. Right now, she says she wants to be a baker or a sniper, but whatever road she chooses to follow, the decision ultimately has to be up to her. You told me something about this once, right? If you want to choose the better path, listen carefully to the people who've walked the trail before you. As many of them as you can find. Fortunately enough, Makina is still very young. She'll have the chance to hear many people's thoughts, and I think she should actually seek them out. There's a limit to the amount of information any one human being can directly obtain. Don't get caught with the things in front of your nose. Keep trying for the big picture perspective, and it won't go wrong too often. Right, Asako? Hey, Makina, want to say a little something to Asako as well? Still clasping her hands together and keeping her eyes shut, Makina quietly opens her mouth to speak. Thank you for raising Papa. If it wasn't for you, I don't think Papa and I would have met, so thank you. Makina's softly mumbled words hit me harder than I expected. Asako, you moved on and left me behind. You did enough. You accomplished your job you were here to do. That's why you were allowed to die. I haven't earned that right yet, but I'll get there someday. I know I will. Think you can wait for me until then? The gravestone offers no reply to my silent question. I know perfectly well that this entire ceremony is nothing but a way for those left behind to find something like comfort, but I can still feel heat spreading behind my eyelids. Alright, I'm hungry. Want to eat?
Yeah, let's get some grub.
Taking the plate in one hand as our small fire begins to gutter out, then seizing Makina's small hand in the other, I set off down the rough trail leading back to the cabin. As twilight gives way to darkness, I twist open the propane stopcock and then leave the bathwater to heat as I begin preparing dinner. But of course the fridge is a barren wasteland, and the vegetable garden out behind the shed has run wild with weeds. Our only viable provisions at the moment would be the stores of vacuum-packed instant rice and canned salmon piled up in the shed. Can't manage much other than gruel or fried rice with this.
I also found some pasta under the kitchen sink.
Pasta? Ah, those are actually straight ramen noodles. Completely forgot we had that stuff. The packages Makina misidentified as pasta contain long strands of dried instant ramen noodles. We used to have these stashed all over the place, and the Hakata pork bones flavor in particular was one of Asako's favorite foods. After a few beers, she'd almost devour a bowl of ramen heaping with vegetables. That brings me back. Asako used to make these for me all the time when she got drunk. Normally she was supposed to boil these for 3 minutes, but Asako opted for a 60-second stir-fry in a pan. She'd focus mainly on eating with the toppings, picking out a well-simmered noodle every once in a while. Makina, you haven't tried these before, have you? Want to have some?
Yeah, let me at them.
That's it. We got nothing in the way of toppings. Can't hope to imitate the Asako-style tower of fried bean sprouts and cabbage doused in vegetable oil. Fortunately enough, we do discover dried chives and roasted sesame seeds under the sink, if not pickled ginger or strips of pork. It's a little more than plain ramen, but in combination with the fried rice, we at least got a somewhat respectable looking meal on our table 15 minutes later. Rather than dinner, it does seem a little more like an oversized midnight snack, but perhaps owing to Amane's strong and anti-instant ideological leanings, Makina seems to find some novelty value in the meal. She gobbles down the ramen in the blink of an eye, repeatedly yelping, "Delicious!" By the time we finish with this somewhat rough supper, the hour hand on the clock is past 8. Returning to Mihama at this hour would be far too troublesome, and more than anything else I'm concerned about the danger of Makina might fall asleep in the back seat and slip right off. All things considered, it'd clearly be best to set up camp in the cabin for the night, then make our way back tomorrow morning. Her belly full, Makina's already begun to mumble incoherently on the verge of sleep. I haul her to her feet and unceremoniously strip off her clothes. Then launch her into the bath with a kick to the rear, tossing her dirty outfit into the beat-up old washer-dryer just outside the bathroom door. You still awake in there? As I'm transferring her wet clothes to the dryer half of the machine, I call out to Makina for the 3rd time in the last 10 minutes. Last thing I need is a girl falling asleep in the tub and drowning herself. Yes! If I strain my ears, I can make out the sound of Makina splashing around, washing her body. as well as a cheerful rendition of Tuna Fishman's theme song, which mainly involves yowling "Mangoro Man fighting for justice" repeatedly in a jumble of English and Japanese. But seriously, is that ghastly human tuna hybrid really supposed to be a superhero? Just seeing the character without any context, I'm pretty sure I would have picked him as a hideous monster of the week rather than the protagonist. But then again, the world's a place of constant change. Maybe the children of the world have acquired a taste for the avant-garde in their Saturday morning entertainment. Either way, it seems I've still got a lot to learn. When Makina gets out of the bath, I wrap a white towel snugly around her head and twist it back and forth until her hair's dry. Then slip an old Oxford shirt from my days as a student in America onto her as a temporary substitute for her clothes. Naked except for a long-sleeved man dress several sizes too large, Makina begins loosely bending her waist back and forth like a patient suffering amoebic dysentery. She then coos "Oh la la" in a high-pitched tone. "What do you think? Thick enough for you?" "Alright, wait there. I'll get a dictionary so you can take a careful look at the definition of the word sexy." "Would it kill you to be at least a little beguiled?" Whatever my faults, I pride myself in my sincerity toward women. Before her bath, Makina's eyelids seemed to have grown about as heavy as lead, but the hot water seemed to have given something of a second wind. It takes little doing to get her crammed into bed. Although she nods off easily enough in the middle of the day, the girl also has a habit of refusing to fall asleep when you actually want her to. Normally I could leave this to Amane, but that's obviously not an option today. Fortunately, no matter how much Makina grumbles about not being asleep yet, when I forcibly scoop her up, she always ceases the struggle and wraps her arms around my neck. Basically, the girl's just scared of going to bed alone. After that, it's a simple matter of depositing her in bed and holding her hand for 30 minutes or so until she falls asleep in earnest. When I lift Makina's small body in my arms, I'm struck by the scent of familiar shampoo, mingling with the subtly feminine smell of her skin. It reminds me so strongly of Asako that I actually startled a little and surprised. "Hey Papa, will you continue that story from before?" Which one was I telling you again?"
"Well, the one from when you were living in America and made a bet with a friend about hitting a target from 180 meters.
"What, again? I already told you that one 3 times today."
"I want to hear it one more time. Oh, and that field of fire 15 centimeter story when you were hiking with everybody."
You really like this stuff for some reason, don't you? I'm not sure why she finds this sort of thing so interesting, but Makina is burning to hear my stories lately. The flower pot, the cat, and the severed head. His name was Ryback, unlucky Sippo. Where's the telephone? Ato Island. From among these fairly well-varied assortment of anecdotes, there's one in particular that's clearly become the girl's favorite. Specifically, 180 meters from Scrubbing the John. Right, so this was back when I was 14 years old, attending Uncle Sam's school in America. One day I ended up making a bet with a classmate. I'd been distinguishing myself as a sniper at the time, and this particular classmate kept coming at me with this stupid line, "What's with the rifle specialty? Isn't your name Uzi?" Not only did I not fight back, I didn't show the slightest sign of irritation at the stupid joke, which eventually pissed my classmate off pretty badly. They ended up challenging me to a bet, hoping to knock me down a peg. The bet itself was about as simple as they come. I had to land a shot on a can of tomatoes from 200 yards. It sounded pretty damn pointless, so I refused to play along at first. But when my classmate offered to take over a week's worth of laundry duty if I won, my perspective on the matter changed. After managing to bargain my way up to 3 shots, I ultimately accepted the bet, but there was one major problem: the rifle I had to use. At the time, I didn't have authorization to use anything but a small bore and its .22 caliber rounds, so inevitably the gun I was using for this bet was just such a 22 LR bolt-action rifle. Normally speaking, you want to be firing a small bore rifle at 25 to 50 meters. The bullet itself can travel a good 1,600, but the effective range normally maxes out at less than 100. Not only was I using this thing for a shot for 200 yards, or slightly over 182 meters, it was taking place outside where I have to deal with the wind. Felt like pretty shitty odds, but on the second round I managed a solid hit. Naturally, that meant I was the winner of our bet, but unfortunately, one of our instructors found out I'd been taking the rifle without permission, so instead of a laundry-free week of leisure, I ended up ordered to scrub the latrines until shit smelled like daisies. But apparently, the tomato can is shot still enshrined in the school's cafeteria, along with the photographic evidence. I'm not trying to get all nostalgic about my wild youth or whatever, but I can't help smiling a little wryly. More at my inability to tell Makina a half-decent bedtime story than anything else. Yeah. But when I finally snapped back to reality, I realized that Makina's closed her eyes and begun mumbling in her sleep. The lengthy trip and waiting in the sun must have tired her out after all. Feeling more than a little relieved, I quietly leave the cabin with the cell phone in hand. Although there is a tower relatively close by, the signal is not particularly good inside the cabin itself. I walk off a little ways until the meter at the top of my screen displays 3 bars, then call up on the contact list and select Kumini Sachi's name. After about 3 rings, she picks up the phone and instantly, not even bothering to say hello, begins hurling questions at me. Is that you, Kasami-san? May I inquire as to your current location? I made several attempts to contact you recently, but... sorry, the reception's not so great out here. You are out very late. Everyone's been rather worried. Do you have any idea when you might be returning? Right, about that. We're actually still in Yamanashi. Makina's already falling asleep, so for tonight we're going to stay out here. Then head back tomorrow around noon. The 2 of you are staying over? Sorry for the trouble, but would you mind looking after Makina's crawfish and apple seedling while we're away? Oh, you're staying over? No, the signal's fine. I could hear you the first time. No need to repeat the question 20 decibels louder.
Huh? What? Did you just say you're staying over? You did, right? What's going on? Are they staying into a hotel? The shacked up in a love hotel and they're not coming back until they run out of robbers? Is that it? That's totally it. Yuuji, you beast! You beast!
See, now, look what you've done. That noisy blonde's in full squawk.
I do apologize, but could you please wait a moment?
Not a problem, I guess.
I kind of want to know what went on there, but for the sake of keeping this PG, I think it's best not to.
Oh? Hey, Sachi, what was that sound?
My apologies, Kasami-san. I had Michiru-sama calm down a little. There shouldn't be any further issues.
I see. Sorry for the hassle.
Well then, you wanted me to take care of the crawfish and apple seedling, yes?
That's right. We should be back tomorrow afternoon, so I doubt it'll be a problem, but I'd appreciate it if you'd just keep an eye on them.
Understood. Please leave everything with me, Kasami-san. Please take your time and enjoy a relaxed, careful return trip.
Thanks. I'll make sure to bring you some hoto and black honey rice as cakes as a souvenir.
Certainly, and also,
What's up?
I'm rather hesitant to say this as it may seem rather forward, but well, I do hope you'll try to be conscientious in regards to contraception, at least.
Not to worry, I picked up a 24 pack of rubbers on the way over. It's a joke, don't climb up on me.
Yes, of course, but please be careful about the 25th round.
I'm telling you, it was a joke. I'm not going to do anything. In the first place, Makina's already asleep, remember?
You intend to jam it in as she slumbers?
You really are determined about this, aren't you?
It's a joke. Kasami-style humor, yes?
I'm going to hang up now.
Very well. In that case, I shall await your return with all my heart. Have a pleasant evening.
Night. What's going on with that girl? I feel like there's a lot of venom in her tongue lately, and her problem solving is definitely getting a little on the violent side.
Amane and Michiru seem to think that it's entirely my fault, but I don't remember giving Sachi any orders to act like this. In fact, I make every effort to give her only strictly appropriate instructions. But come to think of it, there was that one incident the other day. I was telling Makina another of my stories, then paused to note the most efficient ways to help a panicked officer cadet regarding presence of mind in a foxhole. Sachi, who'd been listening in, nodded with deep conviction and commented, I see. In other words, blunt weapons are the best medicine for derangement?
Surely unrelated, but just another example of the female need to blame every problem on a man.
This sort of unfounded generalization is probably exactly the kind of thing that turns women against us, but it helps me regain the necessary composure to make my second call. I choose Amane's number and return the phone to my ear. A completely unfamiliar woman's voice answers the phone.
Yes, hello, who is it? Who the hell are you supposed to be?
I pull the phone away from my ear and double-check the screen, but I'm definitely connected to the number marked as Sue Amane.
Wow, scary. He got a hell mad for some reason. Whatever shall I do?
Stop it, that's my cell phone, ain't it? Give it back.
Ah, sorry about that, Romeo. I'll return the model to you now.
Hello? Who is it? Yuuji?
Yeah, it's me. Who the hell was that woman?
Sorry, I'm at karaoke place with some friends from around here. Guess they saw a guy's name show up on my phone and decided to play a dumb prank.
You people aren't dabbling in hard drugs, are you?
Of course not. I mean, hold on, what's this about? You almost never call me. Did something happen? Yuuji, I love you. Jeez, can you please shut up for a minute?
Amane, my friend, I prescribe a dose of blunt weaponry to the head.
Huh? What are you talking about? Hold on a second, I'm leaving the room now. On the other side of the line, I hear the sound of Amane opening the door and the chorus of shrill voices hooting at her. Sorry about that. So what's up? Struck by a sudden urge to hear my voice or something?
Yeah, that's right. I just had to hear that voice of yours, so I couldn't help giving you a call. Did I make a nuisance of myself?
Well, not really, but...
I see. Alright then. Enough joking around. Let's get to the main topic.
Yo...
Here's the thing, Amane. Makina and I are currently in Yamanashi.
Excuse me? Why Yamanashi? Oh, right, you're visiting that grave.
That's right. Came up with the idea pretty suddenly after we saw you off this morning. Borrowed your Bobatero for the trip.
Oh, Bobatero's actually got you out there?
Yep. You've been having trouble with the engine suddenly dying on you at random times, right? The CDI is probably the issue.
Okay, not that I really know what the CDI is.
You're riding a hot rod and you don't even know that much.
Look, it's not like I'm the one who remodeled it, you know. Heck, it's how it was when I bought it from the dealer.
What kind of store would sell a ridiculously low rider like that?
Well, I got my license when I was 16, then just dropped by the neighborhood motorcycle shop to see if there's anything decent. And one of the employees just happened to be switching to this big hog. They offered to cut me a pretty nice deal on the old bike, so I ended up buying without really thinking it over. But anyway, I'm glad you figured it out. The engine kept going thump and dying while I was waiting for a light to change or whatever. Wouldn't start back up again unless it let it cool for 30 minutes, you know. It was a huge pain.
The wiring inside the CDI is probably swelling from head, disconnecting it temporarily.
Oh, I see. How much would it take to fix, you think?
I'm not a motorcycle mechanic, I can't tell you that much.
Well, whatever. I'm okay with you borrowing Bobatero, so just make sure to ride him nice and carefully, alright?
Yep, understood. I won't do anything stupid.
How's Makina? She eating properly?
Well, let's see. For lunch we had cinnamon rolls and pumpkin bread Makina baked. Dinner was ramen and fried rice.
Oh, come on. You didn't eat any vegetables at all? You just promised me this morning.
Sorry, I'll make sure to feed her something green tomorrow.
You better, okay? Now I'm feeling all anxious again. Make sure she eats 3 meals a day. And don't let her snack after 8 at night.
What? She's some kind of magical gremlin? Well, whatever. I'll be careful. If anything does come up, you'll be the first to know.
Got it. Take care on the way back, okay? Don't let Makina get hurt.
Understood. Alright then. Good night.
Yep, sweet dreams. Make sure they're about me.
Spare me. I got enough lectures in my waking hours.
For some reason, my dreams are always nightmares.
Alright then. That just leaves.
I scroll down to JB's name on my phone contact list. Then press the call button.
I have to say though, I'm a man of many colors.
The trip itinerary I submitted to JB earlier didn't include any references to staying the night away from my post. Of course, my employer is probably aware that I'm still in Yamanashi. I'd be very surprised if they hadn't been tracking the GPS on my other cell phone this entire time. Still, that doesn't mean I can get away with completely blowing off formalities. Even if I do get in touch, it's easy to picture that shaggy-headed blonde griping and scolding at me again. But if I take the initiative to call instead of her making her do it, the budget of a lightning bolt should decrease slightly. I am unable to answer the phone at the moment. Please leave your name and message after the beep.
What's this? You're burning the midnight oil over there. Kazumi, Yuuji and Makina. Status normal. My current location is Asako's cabin in Yamanashi. Scheduled to return post by 1200 hours tomorrow. End of message.
After recording this extremely concise summary of the necessary information, I'm just on the verge of hanging up when I reflexively hesitate. After a moment's pause, I return the receiver to my mouth once more.
Night, Julia.
The hour being what it is, recording a little extra in the way of pleasantries shouldn't cause any issues. My message complete, I hang up and finally snap the phone shut.
Oh. As I slide the cell phone back into my pocket, a sigh spills unprompted out of my mouth. In the isolated mountain night, the only sounds are the rustlings of the trees in the wind and the chirping of insects reveling in summer. I don't mind not hearing people or their machines in the least, but the bugs are fairly noisy in their own right. That said, it just makes you feel anxious when things get too quiet. Human beings are pretty hard to please. Hearing nothing but the sounds you make yourself is genuinely a terrifying thing. There was a time, years ago, when I woke up half buried under a pile of soil and sand. Better still, I couldn't remember how I'd come to be there. I must have stayed there for a good 3 minutes before finally recalling that a field artillery shell had landed nearby, pushed away violent by the man behind me. Had fallen roughly into my foxhole as dirt rained down. When I crawled out of the hole, I noticed that my eardrums were malfunctioning badly. I couldn't hear a thing other than a high-pitched ringing sound. It was the middle of the night, so my field of vision was just as poor. The small slivers of moonlight trickling through the trees above weren't enough to make out any movement around me. The fear that had been swirling around my gut became cold dread, creeping slowly up my spine. It felt like I might be the only person on Earth, as if I'd been left on a dead and empty husk of a world. The night can be very dark sometimes. When I'm facing it alone, I always remember that moment. Asako. Looking up into the sky, I hear her name slip out of my mouth. Just how long am I planning to drag her memory around the ball and chain? It's not like Asako wanted that herself. She told me flat out, didn't she? If I die, forget about me within a year. It's been a year and a half. I should have forgotten her completely by now. I promised I would. But it's hard, Asako. Being alone. Stop sniveling and grow a pair. You have someone to protect yourself now, don't you? I can almost hear the words, feel the slap upside the head, but she's no longer here to deliver them. And that has been a very long episode, but I would feel bad of cutting that in part. So, in the next episode, we should see how the aftermath of that little trip went. We definitely learned more about Yuuji in this one. So until next time, take care.